Hello and welcome to this edition of the Evening Review. My name is Tewanja Belaya, host for tonight. Let's quickly have a look at today's front page of Namibian Sun.
Yesterday, that Santa Claus is on his way. Let's get ready for Christmas Day. A little bird on my shoulder whistled sweet and low. It's time to hang the mistletoe. Hurry up, follow me through the snow. In my ear, that soon the bells will start to ring. Close your eyes, count 1, 2, 3. A little bird told me from above the Christmas tree. Ribbons and boxes I can see. Pretty gifts for you and for me.
Tonight, we are joined by Knowledge Ipinge, Honorable Knowledge Ipinge. He's the councillor for Walvis Bay Urban constituency at the coast in the Rongo region. Thank you for joining us, councillor.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for having me today.
Indeed. So, a big test of character next week, the regional and local authority elections. You are participating particularly in the regional council election, standing again to be re-elected as councillor for your constituency. How do you feel ahead of the election?
I think ahead of the election, in my view, it's simple. This journey is God engineered, I should say. So it is up to the residents of Walvis Bay to make a decision, and I believe I've proven myself as a leader, and I leave it in their hands.
Indeed, and speaking of the residents, councillor, obviously the basis of their decision whether to elect you or not will be based on how you performed in the past 9 or 8 months ago when you have been councillor since February. What do you think have been the highlights of your tenure that makes you eligible for re-electing again?
I think definitely the highlight would be me being the voice of the voiceless and standing up for the community and ensuring that I hold those responsible for the election. Would highlight that definitely as the main highlight of my tenure.
And yeah, of course, councillor, you also you assumed office in February, and then a month later, which is March, COVID struck in the country, and your constituency was one of the worst affected constituencies in the country. Was that a disruption of your work, or did it actually present you with an opportunity to show what you're capable of doing?
I actually see it as a test of character. It was more of a test of a character, and to see definitely how innovative and how effective am I to divert from the initial plan get ahead for the constituency and then to adapt into what we call the new norm. So it was more of a test of, of character to me, and my work speaks for itself, I should say.
Indeed, and the political landscape has also changed a lot since then. New political formations coming up. Um, how confident are you of retain? Of course, you were fair in saying that the people of Walvis Bay will make that decision themselves. But we've seen the likes of IPC, of Dr. Panduleni Tula, coming to your town recently and attracting huge crowds. Is that something that bothers you somehow?
No, I'm not bothered at all because Dr. Itula is not participating in the regional council elections. IPC has a candidate who's running against me, and till now, I'm yet to see any interventions from that candidate or what he's offering as a candidate. One cannot be dependent on someone. And I believe by now we all know the behavior of Walvis Bay residents. They assess situation based on individual offerings and not based on party loyalty anymore. So in terms of that, it's not something that bothers me at all, unless their candidate steps up in the next few days, maybe. Or any other candidate for that matter. I've not seen any candidate definitely offering something unique or something extraordinary from what I've done for the community. In fact, no one is talking about the next 5 years. Up until such a candidate starts speaking, then only maybe it will shake me. In the absence of such, I believe I remain the preferred candidate for our residents.
Um, there was a couple of weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago or so, you made some pronouncements, some public pronouncements in the media and social media, basically taking a shot at particularly IPC for scrapping from their constitution, not scrapping, as a matter of fact, they banned in their constitution the independent candidate aspect. You are serving yourself as an independent candidate. And this quarrel, do you think it was wise for you to have pronounced yourself against particularly a party whose leader at some stage you were sort of working together, you held hands last year before the elections, now you went and say stuff like that. Is it something that you still stick to, or do you think it was a political miscalculation on your part?
I think there's been a lot of misconception over what I've said and what I've not said. I've heard a lot of people claiming that I've disrespected doctor, which I cannot recall. Um, I've said what I've said in order to set the record straight because prior to that, there's been a whole lot of audios being made by IPC members. There's been a lot of lies being spread and propaganda being created. What no one ever talks about is that I've taken this up with the IPC leadership, specifically with their regional commander right here in Walvis Bay. I've addressed this matter. I've informed them to call their people to order, but then that didn't happen. And then at some point, I think there was an interview that happened that actually um, was targeted towards me as well as the movement that I represent, which is the affirmative repositioning movement. And what I did was just to set the record straight. I remain um, respectful towards Doctor as a leader, number one. Number two, as an elder as well. But then what we should understand, we are dealing with politics. And politics at a level whereby mutual respect remains between us as politicians. On top of that, going into the elections, I don't see why I should be making this about me and Doctor, whereby I'm not competing against Doctor at all. He is the president of IPC. I am an independent candidate running in the regional council elections. So with that, definitely we cannot be put in the same wavelength currently because I'm competing against the candidate who is locally here, and I think the conversation should be between myself and that specific candidate.
Indeed. And Councillor, also when you are talking about those behaviors of IPCs, sort of foot soldiers who said demeaning things about yourself, and others. Is that why you have let go of the hand of Dr. Itula and go on to hold the hand of McHenry Venani, or what changed exactly in that space of time?
Yeah, what we should understand is that the vision we had for Walvis Bay initially was for a opposition coalition to take over. At that time, I was in discussion with LPM as well. We had then the individuals that believed in the phenomenon of change. That is the formation we were dealing with. And then we created what is called Change Walfish Bay. So when we created this Change Walfish Bay, it was looking beyond political parties. Now, what then happened, there was then the creation of IPC. So those members who belong to other parties then decided, okay, if that's the case, they will then abandon this ship of Change Walfish Bay and then serve under their respective, political parties. Equally, those who are from the affirmative repositioning movement then made their decision to say they will then register what is called affirmative repositioning Walfish Bay. Myself, I was going to run as an independent candidate. Since I've run in January already as an independent candidate, we had set that tone already that the next few months ahead, we were just going to build up in order to prepare for November. So there was never a conversation about me joining any political party or anything. Because now it's interesting how people ask me about joining IPC, yet I'm not being asked why I didn't join the party of Kennedy Ilonga. You understand? So I just don't get it. And I've been in contact with Kennedy Ilonga also. He has run against me in January and all that. After the election, we have come together and we've been sharing ideas here and there also, because as much as I became victorious, I haven't shut down the doors to all the other candidates who were competing with me in January. So I was also getting insights from them, and my office has been open to them. So with that said, I look beyond political parties. People are currently having this conversation about myself and PDM. But then what people actually are missing, they are making this about McHenry Venani. But then the initial coalition is not based on him as a president. It is actually based on the candidate running for the Walvis Bay Rural Constituency Office. And this is Harold David, who I see as the most credible candidate running for the rural office currently. And that's the ideal person I would like to work with, because he has a deep understanding of the fishing industry, being a lecturer at NAMFI, and have groomed a lot of fishermen in the process. And equally, he is a community activist as well. So this is the individual I've seen myself working with, and this has actually given birth to the coalition. Equally also, we should not forget that PDM is the official opposition. What then, when we were begging, PDM was open to actually table motions in parliament, taking in consideration the residents of the Walvis Bay Urban constituency, and also getting insights from our offices. We are the link to the grassroots people to government. PDM has provided that platform also to consult also with them, and also just to give some advisory through the official opposition office, which is something commendable, looking beyond political party or what my political affiliation is.
Indeed. And then, do you think, Councillor, in your view, that, of course, we spoke about so much that has changed since you assumed office in February, new political formations coming up and whatnot, but, you know, is it, do you also see it as dangerous, the fact that there are many competitors? Of course, it's a democratic space, everybody can compete, but if the opposition and the independent candidates, if their common interest really is to topple the ruling party against the allegations, of course, of having neglected Walvis Bay and whatnot, these many parties, does it spoil the aspirations of having your constituency in the hands of anyone other than SWAPO?
The reality is I'm going to retain the constituency. There's no doubt about that. Others are just participating in these elections. I'm in it to win it. As
Yeah.
I said before, this is God engineered. Um, Good that they are competing in the democratic space, but then I've proven myself, and equally also I've been on the ground on a regular basis, and I know exactly what is happening. So with that said, we have gathered enough support, starting definitely with the validation of the signatures, as well as also just with the public consultations that we've been holding over the past few weeks. So with that, I think the soil is fertile enough that we're going to reap from those fruits. So
And and also,
just to
Councillor,
touch on that,
yeah, I hear you. Councillor, also there was something that there's been the narrative in SWAPO that has been doing round since yourself and LPM won your constituencies in February. First, it was the SWAPO spokesperson Hilma Nikanor saying the, these non-SWAPO councillors would still have to go through us in order to develop those constituencies. And I saw a video last week, or was it this week, in fact, of a SWAPO campaign, also someone saying the reason why people shouldn't vote for the opposition, for example, is because you in your case, for example, cannot promise people land because the land belongs to the SWAPO-led government. Essentially, that is what she was saying. I'm just curious, how was the working relationship between yourself and the ruling party? I'm trying to establish how difficult it is, if at all, for an opposition councillor or political office bearer to succeed when they have to report to the government that they are essentially opposed to.
okay, what we should take in consideration is that we cannot build a government based on political impulses, but rather than on commercial purposes currently, of which we are looking at 30 years after independence. Um, Speaking of my tenure currently, just recently we had a motion tabled on JBB as well as human trafficking. It was passed unopposed. So definitely that speaks for itself that um, it is all based on principles and nothing else. Because you look at um, the challenges faced currently by our community with JBV as well as human trafficking, for example, who in their rightful mind would choose their political affiliation to block a motion such as that? So, and just yesterday, I had actually the privilege of the Erongo leadership was called in for a meeting with the Prime Minister, of which we discussed challenges and hardships faced by our constituency as well as the region at large. We gave her our overview, which is built on the socio-economic analysis that we've embarked on since the lockdown was lifted. Equally, also looking at development plans for the constituency moving forward. With that, of which one of the most crucial initiatives we are planning to actually implement as a capital project is the establishment of what we call a fishing ban, which is equivalent to agribank, for example. So whether you're SWAPO, your PDM, your UTM, or which other party, I don't see anyone opposing something like that. So it's all about what are you bringing to the table. Gone are the days that people are focused on just talking, talking, talking. The implementation and monitoring of projects is the most important thing. As we are aware, there's been the Harambe prosperity plans, there's been the national development plans, there's been the growth at home strategies and all that. My question is, why was it not implemented then and without taking anything away? I came into office in January. There was a councillor at the rural office who've been serving for about 15 years. But for some reason, everyone has been flocking only to the Walvis Bay Urban constituency. And that alone speaks volumes.
Indeed. My final question to you, Councillor, is then you were very realistic in your introductory remarks to say that the fate of Walvis Bay Urban constituency lies in the hands of the people in the constituency, meaning therefore that meaning that no one is guaranteed election or re-election. Now, the question that has always popped up when young people like yourself, I think you're probably the youngest regional councillor in the country right now, the question has always been that if a young person like that gets into politics and for some reason doesn't get voted, what then would the next logical, does it destroy a person because then, you start looking for other ways to keep afloat and to keep relevant? In your case, what is up your sleeves? If the residents of Walvis Bay decide, thank you, Councillor, but we are moving on with someone else, what would be the plans of Knowledge Ipinge?
Definitely, Knowledge Ipinge has taken a risk actually to get involved in politics, of which I've actually set a lot of things aside. Meaning I've set aside also my business initiative as well as all other projects that I've been embarking on, such as the sports development initiative. So what is there for Knowledge Ipinge? Definitely I'll go back to my normal life, but then that doesn't take away the activism part of it. It means that I'll be involved in activism if I have to step down as a politician. So it means that I'll be leaving office, but I will be effective in the community, pushing the activism. And one should take note that next year, activism is going to be at another level in terms of AR actually setting in motion a new strategy, a new plan on how we're going to implement some of the initiatives that we have actually been laying effort. So I will be instrumental in that. On the other side, I will still be involved in the marketing side of business as well as also sports development. So that's what is in store for Knowledge. Should I happen not to become the regional councillor anymore, which won't happen because I'm here to stay over the next 5 years. We've started already working on the 5-year plan that we put in place, and all that is left is currently implementation.
Councillor Knowledge Ipinge, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate your time, sir.
No, thank you very much for having me.
There was Knowledge Ipinge, is the current councillor of the Walvis Bay Urban constituency, speaking to us about his chances of retaining the constituency going into the elections to be held next week, Wednesday. That is the regional and local authority elections that are scheduled for next week nationally, and Mr. Ipinge was giving us the prospects that he has going into that election. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend.
Yesterday, that Santa Claus is on his way. Let's get ready for Christmas Day. A little bird on my shoulder whistles sweet and low. It's time to hang the mistletoe. Hurry up, follow me through the snow. That soon the bells will start to ring. Close your eyes, count 1, 2, 3. A little bird told me from above the Christmas tree. Ribbons and boxes I can see.